we can have a martial law scenario that leads to concentration camps in America. First of all, what did you find in your investigation and your documentaries?
Well, you brought up Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory about the FEMA camps, and our director, William Lewis, was in that episode. And when I partnered with William to investigate these stories, it's because I'd heard about them for so long, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So, in order for us to do that, we had to have a historical perspective, and that perspective took us right back to World War II, when I met an internment camp survivor, a Japanese American, and we wanted to find the parallels with his life, and as an American citizen living in California, we wanted to find the parallels in his life and people in modern day, people in present day. What were the similarities? And what we discovered was simply that through fear, the federal government rounded up all these Japanese Americans and put them in camps. And when I interviewed him for about an hour, and only so many minutes made it into the final cut. But he corrected me at one moment during the interview when I referred to it as an internment camp. He said, "No, Gary, these were concentration camps." And he revealed to me that people were shot at these concentration camps. People were shot. American citizens were shot because they got too close to the fence line, and nothing happened to the soldiers that shot these American citizens. Just because they were racially different, they were rounded up. Mm-hmm. So the Supreme Court upheld that decision.
Right.
Okay. So let's start with that as a context before we move anywhere. Because when it becomes a conspiracy theory, that's simply a terminology that's used to try to discredit the fact. But when you have a Supreme Court ruling, and you have an American citizen that's taken someplace against their will, then you have a serious problem in this country. So we wanted to find the parallels, and so we bring it to the present day. And around the time of the film's production, there was a document that was released by the Missouri State Police. It was the Missouri Fusion Center, and it was infamously known now as the MIAC Report. The MIAC Report detailed that certain individuals who may have a political belief, who may have a bumper sticker on their car, or who may have watched the film America Freedom to Fascism, may be violent militia extremists, and that police officers should approach these vehicles, if they have a "Don't Tread on Me" sticker, approach with extreme caution. So we took a look at that element, a Fusion Center document, and a Fusion Center is simply a hybrid organization with state, local, federal authorities coming together to share information.
Is it under Department of Homeland Security?
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's their answer to the information wall that was erected before 9/11. So we're taking this information wall down. We're going to create a big room. We're all going to hang out and we're going to share information. So these documents were put out by the Missouri Information Analysis Center, and it was quite frightening. So we focused on that. So if we can look back in history and see that these Japanese Americans, who simply just because of the way they looked, were considered a threat. Well, what about today? We have so many more threats that are perceived by the federal government, and it's not. I mean, of course, they're going to go ahead and, if you look Arabic or something like that, they're already going to label you. But then that's the overt, on the surface visualization of threat by the federal government. But what is underneath the surface? And that's when we come up with this document. Who's being targeted today? It's people who speak out against the Internal Revenue Service. It's people who speak out against the Federal Reserve and the countless bailouts. The people who speak out against red light cameras and people who just simply want to have their privacy. I mean, we're all being spied on by the National Security Agency.
Right. But anyone who thinks that Snowden is not a traitor but a hero, I'm sure would be part of this list.
Yeah, so they're making all these lists. You don't know how you get on them. You don't know how you get off them. And so that was the purpose of the film, was to look at those two parallels. And then, of course, look at the continuity of government programs that are in place and what infrastructure exists for an immediate or mass roundup of American citizens.